Julie,
Yeah.
you say that you don't write the laws, and that's clear, but you do influence laws as a municipal official.
Yes.
And of course, Frank wouldn't be here if you hadn't
Correct.
influenced the law. This question is the same question I asked Frank. Do you see there could be some type of middle ground on this issue? For example, maybe allow assessments to be viewed on the internet only between the business hours, or possibly a range. Is that a possibility?
If it were up to me, no. I would prefer that it were available after business hours and weekends. That is when most people are home and they can review the assessments. The potential for abuse of having inequities in the assessment system exists because of the way the public record laws are now, that they're only available during normal business hours. Most people work during the day. So I would be opposed to something like that.
So you don't see a middle ground on this issue between the concerns of
Well,
privacy?
again, one of the reasons I'm here, I believe, put it out there for the world to see. Representative Dermody said people in Texas would see it. If there's any interest, it would probably be someone who grew up in Pittsburgh that might, but I don't have any interest of looking at, as a public official I do. I've looked at assessment websites in Florida, and there are many senior citizens in Florida. There are dozens of assessment sites with photos, outside sketches, dozens of assessment websites in California that I can access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No middle ground. There's middle ground on where we cross the line. And from what I've heard today, I believe Representative Dermody is an honorable man, that his intentions are good, and that there will be some middle ground on what is not permitted on the internet. But to say all assessment information only in Allegheny County, while Montgomery and Lancaster have websites, is ludicrous.
Thank you. Pete Durntine, do you want to follow up? We now move to the final round, which is a rapid-fire round. We ask each debater to limit their answers to 1 minute, and the journalist may follow up. The first question in this round will come from John Misick of the Calkins Group.
Mr. Dermody, the U.S. Supreme Court recently struck down an appeal by a company that sought to obtain access to Los Angeles police records for commercial purposes. In their dissent, Justices Thomas and Scalia said they believed this imposed an unfair restriction on commercial speech. With this restriction on assessment records, are you not concerned that you might be imposed, since this information is usually of most compelling interest to real estate agents or to contractors, are you not concerned that you might be imposing the same sorts of restrictions on commercial speech by limiting access to this information?
Is it of some concern? Yes. And that's when you do a balancing between what I consider the privacy rights and the security rights of our citizens and those of real estate agents who don't seem to be too upset about this right now, or the situation the way that it is. I have not had one complaint from anybody in the real estate business back in Allegheny County about having problems getting the information they need, or anybody calling me saying, you know, Dermody, you get off this wagon because we need to get that stuff on the internet. It just isn't there. So when you do the balance that I think you're required to do, that you have these competing interests. You've got interests out there for the businesses, and that's a real concern. But you compare that to the interests of privacy and security. I come down on the side of privacy and security.
Thank you. Pete Durntine.
We got you stumped, Pete.
Rapid fire. Rapid fire.
See that?
I don't want to repeat my
We've
question.
killed this issue.
In the case of, this is for Mr. Dermody, in the case of tax records on homes and businesses, what, if any, expectations of privacy should homeowners and business people expect? And how do you balance that expectation of privacy against the public's right to know?
Well, I think we've discussed that, but I mean, the have a right to know right now, and the information is available. What's interesting, I just got an article from the Valley News Dispatch about a business in my district, the PPG plant in Springdale, which appealed their assessment. And we're talking about the public's right to know, and how the Board of Assessors needs all this private home information on the internet, and they refused to divulge the record of the file on the appeal of the PPG reassessment. That was reassessed, it was assessed at over $1.5 million and reassessed down to like 600 or 700,000, so that the municipality took a tremendous hit, and the Board of Assessors refused to give up the file of the appeal. Now, it's public records when it comes to the residents of Allegheny County and their homes, and it's private records when it comes to the businesses. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Thank you. And a final round question from Pete DeCourcy of the Harrisburg Patriot.
Mr. Sully, what have you learned in this dispute about the state legislature's commitment to open records when 5 constituents call them up and yell? Or more.
What my father told me many years ago, 95% of all of our problems are based on miscommunication. There is much miscommunication. And again, why is everyone so afraid of the internet? This whole premise is based on fear. That's what I've learned. And there's really nothing to fear as long as we don't cross that line on the present property public records law. I looked on a search engine, AOL, recently. Public records, almost 600,000 entries. Half of these websites had information brokers. They could get you information on anyone's social security number, etc. It's already out there for those the fearmongers. The advantages clearly outweigh the disadvantages. But to answer your question, there has been some miscommunication. It's unfortunate for me and for Representative Dermody that we haven't sat down and gone over these issues, hashed them out, and find some middle ground. That's what I've learned.
But is it really miscommunication? Because it sounds
Yes.
like you guys have a genuine difference, because you offered to take a couple things off, and he said, nah. It sounds like he doesn't think this should be a public record on the internet, and it sounds like...
But he thinks...
It sounds like philosophically, apart from your position on the board, you do, which makes it sounds like the 190 or however many voted with Frank have a genuine difference about what ought to be a public record.
Well, let's wait and see what the state Senate does with this, all right? It was an amendment to a bill that Representative Dermody put in about a week before the law passed. It was one sentence, 2 sentences, Mr. Dermody?
Well, the
something
amendment
like
is
that.
very short. Most of mine are.
Yeah,
The amendment that eliminated property
Yeah, but the
taxes
point was-
took a 40-page bill and made it one line, but it
Yeah.
had an impact, didn't it?
Yeah, but the point was very clear. Public information in Allegheny County shall not be placed on the internet, period.
It didn't say public information.
And
It didn't say
assessment.
public information. It said assessment information should not
Same
be
thing.
placed on the internet. I don't think so. Where were we?
Same question, Mr. Dermody.
Same question.
What does this tell us about the state legislature's commitment to making public records public?
Yeah, well, we have a strong commitment.
Or keeping,
to making-
right,
We need to keep public records public, but, and there's no fear mongers or worry about the internet, but I think we heard some interesting information of social security numbers being out there. And we've all read in the newspapers about the website that was out in near Erie County or up in that Crawford County in Pennsylvania, where the congressional record, when you were testify, you had a military officer was to give his military officer's number, or his number was a social security number. The social security numbers are out there. These people, generals and everybody else, had thousands of dollars charged to credit cards and everything else because their social security numbers were out there. Nobody's a fearmonger. The internet's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. The commerce and the economic development that's going to be available is incredible. But we need to take steps before that information is out there to protect our citizens. So there's some work there. The legislature is absolutely, I am committed to having public records public. I'm also committed to making sure that we protect privacy and safety.
Okay, as we near the end of the debate and to foreclose on any more possibilities of communication problems, we want to give both of our debaters an opportunity to make a closing statement. The first closing statement, which will be a 3-minute statement, will come from Mike Sully.
I'm going to read something. I brought something to read here. While every tax is a burden, it is more cheerfully borne when the citizen feels that he is only required to bear his proportionate share of that burden, measured by the value of his property to that of his neighbor. This is not an idle thought in the mind of the taxpayer, nor it is nor is it a mere speculative theory advocated by learned writers on the subject, but it is a fundamental principle written into the constitutions and statutes of almost every state in the country. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Everyone has the right to know what the value of their property is compared to the value of the property of their neighbors. I'm not a legislator. I'm the county assessor from Allegheny County. More is better than less. Property information is not private information. It is not a violation of someone's privacy. Yes, there must be legislation here in Pennsylvania to deal with the internet. But this bill, in my opinion, fears the internet. This bill promotes fear, and it is not the solution. It's a good start. My hope is that the state legislature, in its wisdom, becomes a high-tech leader and not, as what the Post-Gazette said in their editorial, the low-tech leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. And now a closing statement from Frank Dermody.
Thank you, and thank goodness the Post-Gazette is not always right. And to the,
On
and to
this
the
one they
people,
are.
I don't think so, and I think most of the people in Allegheny County will agree with me. And to the people of Allegheny County, and really to the Commonwealth, you want to pay your fair share. You want to pay your fair share, and you usually do pay your fair share. The county assessors are spending $30 million with Sabre Systems to come assess your homes.
24.
And they'll be out there assessing your homes, and they've been in your homes, and now all that information they want to have on the internet. You will pay your fair share, you're proud to be. However, all the information they collect does not need to be delivered to everybody in the United States. What this is about, ladies and gentlemen, is actually making the information age go forward in a very positive way. We need to have the internet, and we want all the benefits we can get from the internet. But we also want to protect you, and we want to protect your privacy, and want to protect your safety. You know your home is your castle, and there are certain aspects of that assessment information that don't need to be on the internet. The government collecting your private personal information for a specific purpose needs to take that information, perform the function they're supposed to perform, and then keep that information private and confidential. This information has no business being on the internet, and if you've watched this debate, you've seen the arrogance of our Board of Assessors in violating the law to put it there. They're bending over backwards. They're going to spend $100,000 to do so. It's not right. And I can assure you that I will take the steps to make sure that we balance this fairly so that while you have fun on the internet, your rights, your privacy, and your safety will be protected.
Thank you. That's First Thursday for this time. I'd like to thank our debaters, Representative Frank Dermody and Mike Suley, for a truly illuminating and informed debate. This is a topic that's going to be around for a while, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about it again. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our Pennsylvania journalists for this program, Pete Durantine of CapitalNews.com, John Misick of the Calkins Group, and Pete DeCourcy of the Harrisburg Patriot, and not least of all our program sponsors, the Penn State Harrisburg School of Public Affairs in cooperation with the Penn State Downtown Center and the Pennsylvania Cable and Telecommunication Association. Please be with us next First Thursday, and thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Mike Young. Good evening.
And all the children